Day, and we'll get started. Hello and welcome to 7 techniques to stay motivated. The difference between wishing and achieving. There's a big difference between saying, hey, I'd really like to do that, or I really wish I could do that, and then actually running across that finish line, grabbing that end goal. So we're going to talk about tips on staying motivated, getting motivated in the first place, and how to eliminate some of that fear and anxiety along the way. I am your student success coach here at Essential Education, part of our student success team. There's a couple of us here at our 1-800 number and answering questions with our help and support. We have one major phrase that we say a lot here at Essential Education, and that is your success is our goal. We want you to, yes, excel and exceed in studying for and in preparing for your high school equivalency exam, but we also want to prepare you for those next steps in life. So maybe you're here for motivation about your exam, but maybe you're here for motivation in just taking that next step forward in your future, in your career. And we want to help you with that too. So we're going to talk about some things in a really high level today. But again, use that chat, use that question and answer to ask some specific questions, or maybe even if you feel brave enough, share some specific motivation things that you are struggling with. Alrighty. It's not easy to fight your own feelings. And this is where I want to start because all of us in our own mind, our own attitude can be our biggest obstacle. The anxiety, the fear, that lack of motivation that we're feeling, the way that we're positioning that in our mind can be the biggest thing for us to overcome. And I think a lot of us don't really think about that because we're so worried with all the external things. We look at all the outside forces that hold us back. But I don't have enough time. My schedule doesn't allow for me to study. I can't cram anything else in there. I can't job search to find something better because I'm working all the time. Lack of resources, money. Oh my goodness, in the midst of all the stuff that's going on in our country right now, we have all of these external influences, but the way that we internalize that in our own head is actually what stops us. Because here's some simple truth. The way we feel is never wrong. It's just never wrong. We can be sad. We can be angry. We can be afraid. What we have to judge ourselves on and what the world judges us on is how we react to those things. And so we're going to talk about some things where we can kind of reposition our minds and our mindset to get and to stay motivated. So here are 7 techniques that we hope you're able to apply to your life today in order to be successful and accomplish your goals. And then here's a big part. No matter what anyone has told you, and maybe that person is yourself. So we're going to go and start with the first one. The first one is to visualize your goal. You have to believe that your goal is possible in order to make it real. Because again, we all tell ourselves a story. And for some of us, that story has had some ups and downs so far. But I will tell you with all confidence and all sincerity that the favorite part of my job here in working with you guys is hearing your individual stories because they are inspiring. No matter what age or what reason somebody's getting a high school equivalency credential, there's always something that's non-traditional in that. There's always something that, makes this a different route than, say, a traditional education may have looked like. And we can either get bogged down in that. We can say, well, it didn't work for me because of, these learning differences I have, or, I dropped out. This is a big one. I dropped out to care for a parent who got sick, or, I was never really, school was never really my thing. All of these things swirl around, and we can choose to dwell in that, or we can choose to turn that and to write these amazing chapters in our story, because we can rewrite and revise at any time. And so in doing that, we have to visualize to make it real. So how do we do that? The first thing is write it down. Write down what you want. There's power in writing things down. You say, well, I'm not a writer. Well, grab your phone, take some notes, talk about some things you want, make these real, make these personal. Why are you doing this? When you get down to the heart of why you want to get your high school equivalency credential or why you want to take the next step in your career, why are you doing that? It could simply be, I've got to pay the bills. I've got money. I've got financial obligations. I've got debt, all of these things that I want to take care of. It could be that you want to make someone in your life, your partner, your family, your daughter, your son, your husband, your mother, your father, you want to make them proud. You could just be doing this out of sheer self-motivation. You want to set a goal and knock it down. There are lots of reasons that bring us to our why. And be really honest about what will help you get there. What do you think you need to get from point A to point B? Whether it's getting an HSE, getting a better job, having more financial stability, get really specific about what you want. And if you want to share some of those today, I'm all up to read them. We would love to hear from you. So, if you've got some specific goals, we'd love to see it and share those together today. Here's the next one. Give yourself affirmations. And I can't say enough about how powerful this is. Some of us phrase things in if and when statements an awful lot. We might say to ourselves, well, you know, if I get my high school credential, then I'd like to do this. Or if I apply for this other job, I'd like to do this. Or if I can make this much more money, then it would mean this for my family. We talk in ifs a lot, but there's a shaky kind of non-committal thing when we use the word if. And there's something kind of magical when we start changing those to definitive statements. Think about saying, instead of if I get my high school credential, saying when I get my high school credential, I will step 1, step 2, step 3. I will apply for this new job after I pass this exam. I can see myself as a dental hygienist, a medical tech, all of these things. When we tell ourselves that, we're already starting the process of rewriting that story because we're making a commitment to do that. And it's kind of like making it social media official. You'll hear people laugh about, our relationship became Facebook official. It's because once you put it out there and once you make the statement that says, I'm going to do this, I can do this, I will do this, then there's some accountability involved in that. If you're telling your friends and your family this is something you're doing, then along the way, they're going to ask, hey, how's that goal going? How's it going working on your high school equivalency credential? Or how's it going in your job and kind of moving up the ladder? Change those if statements to I will and I can statements, and it will change your perspective. And that perspective is, again, where the butter, that's the butter. That's that good sweet spot, changing your perspective. All right, here's another one that we may not really think about, and that is this idea of expecting setbacks. Now, that's not to say that you start off running saying, oh, well, I know I'm going to fall down. That's not that at all. Expecting setbacks is just knowing that things are going to happen from time to time. Challenges are going to happen. There are going to be days that you don't feel like studying. There are going to be times that you don't do as well on a practice test as you'd like to. So decide ahead of time how you're going to get back up and run again. Decide ahead of time how you're going to deal with that setback. If you're going to say, you know what, I knew this was going to come, I have a plan in place, I'm going to study a little extra tomorrow. Or, you know what, I just had a bad day and I'm going to grant myself grace with that. Expect the setbacks and know how you'll overcome them ahead of time. And that goes along with visualizing the path. You're making these I can and I will statements. You're knowing that obstacles are going to come and you're going to be confident when they do. Take time to sit and picture yourself achieving those goals. This might sound kind of silly, but along with those can and I will statements, think about what that will look like, what that will feel like when you get that credential. If you're hoping to enter a medical field, think about what you'd look like in a pair of scrubs. Think what you'd look like in that business tie, if that's something that's required in the career path you'd like to go down. Visualize it, see it. And then here's a big one. Just take the first step. That first step is the hardest one you will make because it will feel like you're stepping off a cliff. It will be committing to doing something that could potentially change your life. And there's a lot of, there can be a lot of fear in just the unknown of that. You know what your life looks like now. Even if it's hard, even if it's difficult, there's expectation in that. And so taking that first step can be really scary, but it is the hardest but best thing that you can do. Let's move on to technique 2. And again, if you have questions, jump in. Happy to hear from you. Technique 2, create a supportive environment. Don't underestimate community. And this is huge. This is just an essential thing. I just wrote a blog post about it this week about finding your cheerleaders. Talk to your family, confide in your friends, look for some online communities. All of these things will help you as you move forward in creating a supportive environment. In talking to your family, set up some ground rules and get their support. If you've got a naysayer in your family, politely say to them, I don't really need your feedback. This is something that I'm going to do, and I don't need you to roll your eyes, or I don't need you to say, you're never going to do this, because that's not helpful to me. So stick to the adage, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. And some of those ground rules might be, hey, I'm committing to study in the morning. And so I need this first hour to myself. So please, try to limit the distractions or limit asking me questions. This is especially difficult for mothers, as they get up and they've got family responsibilities. You're making lunches, you're making dinner, and your family can support you verbally, but they can also just support you in giving you the time and the space that you need. Again, confide in your friends. Make them a part of that support system. Calls from friends and loved ones along the way just to say, hey, how are you doing? That's really, really important. And you need friends that, again, are going to build you up and not bring you down. Online communities, chat forums, e-blogs can be a really, really powerful motivational tool, because 9 times out of 10, they're made up of learning communities. They're made up of fellow classmates and teachers and peer groups, people like you that are after the same goals, that understand what you're going through, and they can be an invaluable resource. And that's what we're hoping to build with our e-board here at Essential Education. If you've not yet subscribed, it's super easy. I update it on the daily. Hopefully it's bringing a wide variety of content, and we want this to be a place where you can constantly come get some tips, but then maybe comment and share as well. We also have outlets on Instagram and Facebook, and that content is updated daily as well. So come and share with us. We would love to have you. So tip 2, create a supportive environment. Technique 3, reward yourself for success. A lot of people think, well, you know what, I've got this great, party, or my family's going to do all of these things when I get my high school equivalency credential. And that's awesome. I want you to keep doing those things. I spoke to a lady last week that she's in her 70s and she's got one more subject to pass, and her family has a big party planned for her. And I love that. But don't save all of your rewards just for when you accomplish your ultimate goal. Set little teasers along the way. And what can that look like? Set smaller goals as you work, and know that each milestone on your journey is its own success. What could this be? It could be a day off. It could be a sweet treat if that's your jam. It could be an item that you've been saving and looking to buy, but tie it to, what, I've got the money saved for this now, but I'm going to wait until I get a certain score on this practice test, and then I'm going to let myself buy that item. Tie it to something, and it means something. If you tie a goal to a reward, there's just an extra value in that. My daughter and I have had this tradition ever since she was little. We got into book series, and so when we would finish the third or final book of the trilogy, we would buy a little something, whether it was a bookmark, or I think she has a little necklace with an owl on it from the Harry Potter series. So something that reminds us of that achievement or of that goal, and it just makes it super sweet. Technique 4 is to set up motivational reminders. Motivation, just like reward, is not something that you have to just do once. Your motivation should be ongoing. That's why we titled this session Getting Motivated, and then ways to stay motivated as well. And the first tip is to leave yourself notes. Again, there's power in that written word. If you're somebody that likes to have Post-its, put Post-its on your mirror. Leave yourself notes in your pockets. Another great thing to do is set up reminders on your phone. Remind yourself of your why. Find motivational verses or quotes or something that reminds you to keep going. It might not be words, it might be pictures, but put something encouraging on your home screen or on your wallpaper that you see every time you open up your device to get online to study, or if you're studying with workbooks, those bookmarks or those notes inside those books that reminds you, you know what, this might be the last thing you want to do right now, but you have a why behind this. Again, motivational pictures. We've got a lot of them. This is what I try to share on Facebook and Instagram a whole lot. I find that people tend to like little bits of these things, and that's memes. If you can make yourself laugh. I saw one last week that said, it would be really nice if I had to learn the Pythagorean theorem for, the Pythagorean theorem season that's coming up. It's just talking about making fun of the fact that sometimes we have to learn math that we don't necessarily feel like we learn in the day to day. Or, I posted one yesterday that was, just keep learning, just keep learning. And it was Dory from Finding Nemo reminding us that even when the world is crazy like it is right now, we can still make our commitment to learning. So whatever that motivational picture, word, phrase is for you, then put that in a very visual place for yourself. That might be getting a motivational calendar so that you get small words of encouragement each day. And then you can meditate on that thought or just have a mental remembrance of that thought whenever you get discouraged throughout the day. For those that like to journal and write, writing again has power. I have a friend that's in love with just different types of ink and different colors of ink, and she loves different highlighters. It just makes her happy. That might be you, might not be. So find something that works for you. And again, bookmark those motivational websites. They are there to help you. Looks like we got somebody jumping into chat up here, so we're going to see what that is and see. Oh, make a vision board for motivation. I could not agree more. That's from Tina today. Tina, that is a great suggestion. We often think of those at the first of the year, right? Like we think of those in January as the things that I'd like to accomplish this year. And I think some of us get discouraged if now it's March and we don't really see that going anywhere. So we have to grant ourselves some grace that those are long-term goals, and that vision board is there to remind us what direction we're running in. So that is a great, great suggestion. All right, so technique 5, eliminate anxiety. Anxiety comes from fear, and that fear comes from our innate fear of failing. And it's hard to say that out loud. It's hard to put that out there. But the bottom line is none of us like to make mistakes. None of us like to admit we have shortcomings or we have areas of improvement, because maybe it's tied to something that happened in our past. Somebody made us feel stupid. Somebody made us feel less than. And so when we're preparing for something that requires us to jump in and learn skills that we never felt like we really accomplished in the first place, it can stop us in our tracks. But I find that being prepared, once you realize that that fear is there and it is going to come, being prepared for that, kind of like anticipating challenges and obstacles, this becomes a key element when it comes to building confidence in your studying and in your testing. So that preparation, knowing that anxiety is normal, but you'll be more comfortable once you're prepared for what's to come, is a great way to attack that fear before it has a chance to settle in. And I say settle in because there is something good that can come out of that fear too, because anxiety does launch an adrenaline. It's a biochemical response in our body that can make you more alert, and it can make you more motivated to succeed. Use that to your benefit and set realistic schedules to reduce stress, but use that sense of urgency to your benefit. And for some of you, it might mean this. I had a student call and say, you know what, for years, I was just kind of plucking along in my studies. This was taking me so much longer than it should have. So I finally just set a test date, and it lit a fire under me. And I had to find that balance between stress and motivation, but setting that test date really set me on a trajectory for greater success because I had a time frame. I couldn't let myself get lazy. I couldn't afford to put my studies off even more, and I was motivated by that adrenaline. So you can eliminate the anxiety by knowing what to expect, but you can actually use that innate fear that we have by using that adrenaline to push you on. Again, don't want to push you into stressed out levels, but being realistic is the key word here, realistic schedules. It would not be realistic to say, you know what, I'm just going to light a fire under myself and I'm going to set my test for 2 days away and cram it all in. Not realistic. You definitely have the adrenaline shoot up if you showed up for that test unprepared, but that's not realistic. Now, 3 months away, yeah, absolutely realistic and sets a time frame. So consider that if that's something that you've been putting off. The other thing is to ready your mind and body. Too much adrenaline can inhibit clear thoughts. So if you do things like cramming the night before, not taking a break, as a side note, if you didn't join us for our testing coaching session, we talked a lot about the importance of disconnecting the day before your exam, taking some time off, stopping study so that you can just sit and rest, clear your mind and your body, because too much of that adrenaline can inhibit your thoughts, can make it foggy, can make you more tired, and it can reduce your performance. So finding ways to relax and calm your worries. Technique 6 is answer negative thoughts. Counter negativity to keep motivated. And again, those negative thoughts can come from other people, but 9 times out of 10, they come from us. The worst things that we think are things that we conjure up in our own head. They're the things that get us in stall mode before we even get off and running. And the first one is this: I don't have time. I get that. I've got 2 kids, I've got a husband, I've got a job, I've got, commitments in my community, lots of things that are going on. But when it comes to education and it comes to making an investment in yourself and your future, no, 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 that extra effort is always going to be worth it. That extra effort, that extra time, and that time sometimes is a bigger sacrifice than money or anything else, because it takes away from our resources. It takes away from our emotions, from our mental capacity. When we commit our very precious time to something that will better us in the future, it's always a good investment. And so when we achieve those goals, it just makes it even more enjoyable knowing what we committed and what it took us to get there. Some people say this, they say, I can't get started and I can't stick with it. We talked about the first step is always the most difficult one, but really, what do you have to lose? If you've lost momentum or gotten sidetracked, pick back up, with steady, easy to succeed tasks. We often tell students, start with the subject that you feel the most confident in, because you'll gain some momentum. If you want to go in and take that test, then you can go in and take that test and then knock it off if you're somebody that's taking subject by subject in the test, because nothing motivates more than success. So break it up into those easy bite-sized tasks. What are some of your issues? What are some of the things that creep in your negative thoughts? If you feel confident sharing those, we'd love to address those together here today. We've got I don't have time and I can't get started or I can't stick with it. Here's another one. We have a lot of people say, I can't afford it. Again, this is one of those things that will stop you before you even start. And just like that time, finding a way to put money aside for your goals and making it a priority is always an investment that pays off. It's always something that will, if you just look at the statistics about how much more workers can make as an earning after they've gotten their high school equivalency credential, or they've even, then taken the next step, gone 2 years of college or gone to a trade school. There are going to be so many trade openings in the next 5 years with the retirement of the baby boomers. There's so much opportunity out there, and your efforts, whether that's time or money, can fill that gap, and they can not only change your life, but the life of your family as well. It is not easy. I would never say that it is. Anytime we want to be better than ourselves, there's always a level of sacrifice that has to play into there. I always think about this statement that says, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get the same result. And that's so simple, and it might even sound silly to you, but it's so true. If you just keep plodding along, if you're just always doing what you've always done, maybe you're somebody that just throws their hands up and says, you know what, I don't have time. I just can't do it. I can't see myself committing any more time or money. I know myself well enough. I don't have ways to stick to things. So I'm just not even going to try. If you always do what you've always done, the result will always be the same. You want to change the end game. If you want to change that result, it starts with taking that first step into something different, into something new, into something challenging, into something that's going to require something from you. Let's look at this last tip. And again, if anybody has any questions, please jump in on that chat. Technique 7 is a fun one. Create a motivational space. We've talked about creating, motivational reminders, whether that's in a vision board. Thanks, Tina, for that. A vision board or reminders on your phone or your screensavers or anything like that. But having a dedicated space that gives you motivation to move forward every day is really important. We spoke to this in an earlier session on study skills. And some of us don't have the luxury of having a separate room or a separate office. Maybe it's the end of the kitchen table, or maybe it's the coffee table. Try to make that space as motivating to you as possible, even if it means just preparing that space, setting aside that location, giving yourself all the supplies you need, making sure you have your charger, your Post-its, or your highlighters all there ready, prepared in that space will help to keep you motivated. It'll stop the distractions. If you have to, get up every 5 seconds to get a writing utensil or to get a charger or to get a drink or something like that, then you're going to break at that time and it's going to take you out of your targeted space. So prepare a space. Also, as much as you can, eliminate distractions and focus only on what you need to while in your space. Again, your family cheerleaders can help you with that if they are helping to be respectful of your time. And then personalize it. Make it fun, make it enjoyable, make it appeal to your senses. Again, even if it's just the end of the kitchen table. I spoke to a woman last week that said, she gets up a half an hour before her kids do, and she's got her motivation is she's got different coffee mugs that have either different places she's been or different funny pictures on them or something, because her study space is her kitchen counter. So she pulls up her bar stool, she gets all of her stuff together, and she sits there with her motivational coffee mug. And I love that picture because that's a picture of somebody that's dedicating the time that they have. For her, it's 30 minutes first thing in the morning, which may not seem like a lot, but to her, that's a big sacrifice. And to her, that's a big step in her direction that, those 30 minutes add up. At the end of the week, you've got 30 minutes plus 30 minutes plus 30 minutes. All of that adds up, and all of that investment plays a part in that overall journey and your overall accomplishment of your goals. Your journey is a personal one, and it's your story, and we want to help you write, or in some cases rewrite, a good one. All of these tips and so much more are in chapter 4 of our Smart Skills book that's available in our bookstore. Wonderful author and educational advisor here, Teresa Perrin. Just a valuable resource if you're somebody that really likes to dive into written word. You can purchase that there at our bookstore. We are here. We want to help you. We thank you so much for joining us today. Your success truly is our goal. It's why we exist. Please, please reach out to me personally. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear your why. If you didn't feel comfortable sharing it today, that's okay. For some of us, that's a really personal thing, and that's really powerful. So share with us. Let us know how we can best help. Let us know how these coaching sessions can best help you by letting us know topics or just different areas that you would like to see us address. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.